Witnesses who had seen al-Nashiri and the other al-Qaeda operatives around the Tawi apartment told us that they observed some of the suspects visiting a mechanic in the area. We tracked him down, and he confirmed the visits. He told us that the suspects had carried AK-47s and that they had brought in a white Dyna pickup truck and asked for a steel plate to be added to one of its sides. Terrorists add steel plates to trucks that are to be used as conveyances for bombs. The plates help to direct the explosion toward the target. The trucks used in the East Africa embassy bombings, for example, were modified this way. They were Dyna trucks, too. We started investigating the truck in question, in this case, and found the dealership that had sold it. The truck had been purchased by Jamal al-Badawi, the second time that al-Badawi's name had appeared. The Yemenis searched for the truck but were unable to find it. This meant, most likely, that it was still available, fitted for a possible suicide attack. Sources told us that Yemeni extremists were becoming increasingly agitated by the U.S. presence in the country, and the U.S. National Security Agency had picked up charter traffic, the term used for intelligence collected using technical means to eavesdrop and intercept email about an imminent attack. With every American in Aden packed into a single hotel, it was clear where the most effective strike would be. We heightened all our security, strengthening the hotel perimeter protection, and the Yemenis blocked off one of the side streets with cement blocks. John, Kevin, and I were having a meeting one evening outside in October in the command post when we heard shooting outside. We realized that we weren't being shot at. We edged toward the side of the windows to see if we could make out what was going on. A minute later, Bob Hickey, the on-the-ground commander of the FBI hostage rescue team that was responsible for protecting us, rushed into our room and said that he was going to send some of his team outside to check what was going on. Hold on, I said. If there is a problem outside, non-Arabic speaking HRT guys are unlikely to help the situation, but may find themselves new targets. Let me go out. I have a better chance of blending in with the Yemenis. Bob agreed. That made some sense, handed me a bulletproof vest, and said he was coming with me. Before we left, HRT snipers took positions on the roof to cover us. Bob carried a radio to keep in touch with them. As a security precaution, we decided to take the stairs down. If anything happened, we didn't want to be trapped in an elevator. As we started down, John called out to me with a hint of nervousness in his voice. Ali, be careful. It was unlike John O'Neill to publicly show anxiety. The lobby was empty. We ran through it and opened the hotel's front door slowly. The street was eerily silent. There were no cars around, and the roads appeared blocked off. The silence was only broken by an ambulance going by, although it didn't have its siren on. We saw a group of Yemeni security agents standing at the end of the street. They were not wearing uniforms, but traditional Yemeni dress, and they were carrying AK-47s. They noticed us seconds after we spotted them and started walking toward us. Right behind them was a car moving at their pace. Driving it was a Yemeni who I recognized as the former chief of police in Aden. They came to a stop right in front of us. What's going on? I said. Nothing, he replied. What was the shooting we heard? Nothing. It was a wedding, and people were shooting in celebration. Why did you close the streets? Don't worry. The ambulance? Don't worry, he said, and drove off. We reported the incident to headquarters. It was the tipping point for them, and they decided to evacuate everyone from the hotel. Everyone, no exceptions, we were told, had to leave. We packed all our gear, equipment, and weapons into the trucks, and we went to the pier where a team of Marines were stationed. They had a small base there to monitor who boarded and left the coal. Loading our stuff in boats, we headed out to the USS Duluth, a Navy ship not far from the harbor. Her captain and officers were waiting on deck to greet us. They were very hospitable. Officers bunked together so that we could have rooms to sleep in. The plan was to stay on the USS Duluth for a couple of days while we monitored what was going on shore. The Duluth moved constantly. Since the attack on the USS Cole, no U.S. ships were permitted to remain stationary in the vicinity of Aden. We had to keep moving our satellites to keep in contact with FBI headquarters and took turns, day and night, positioning it. Ambassador Barbara Bodine was annoyed when she learned that we had evacuated the moving pick. She felt it was an unnecessary insult to the Yemenis. It implied, in her view, that we thought the Yemenis were unable to protect us adequately. That was true, of course. The bombing of the USS Cole, along with the fact that there was a truck suited for a suicide bombing loose on the streets of Aden, was evidence of that. Not to her, however. She registered a complaint through the State Department against John O'Neill, whom she blamed for unnecessarily ordering the evacuation. Because of her complaints, Kevin Donovan, myself, and other officials were called to the bridge of the USS Duluth to speak to senior officers in headquarters about John O'Neill's performance. Once the purpose of the call became clear to me, I got very frustrated. Look, I told them, we're working here nonstop day and night. Our lives are being threatened, and yet we're making important progress. O'Neill is doing a great job. What we need from here and from you is support, not criticism. One of the senior FBI officers responded apologetically. We just needed to have this conversation because the State Department is complaining. A couple of days went by, and we decided that a few of us would head back to shore to check the situation, as we didn't want the investigation to come to a complete halt. John, Kevin, and I, along with Bob Hickey and a few members of the hostage rescue team, were selected to return to the hotel. We climbed down the rope ladder to a waiting boat and began sailing back to the port of Aden. As we approached the harbor, the HRT guys scanned the shoreline and hills for threats. They noticed a couple of men with binoculars on top of a rugged hill, watching us as we pulled in. On shore, we asked the Yemenis if the men on the hill were security officials. They didn't know anything about them.